who did you first, again, obviously you and I spoke, you're not going to mention anybody current. If anybody's passed, obviously you know the game. But like, who did you first hook up with in the life that was a protege that kind of took you on?
I'd have to say Paul Lanny. He passed away.
Okay.
He wasn't a made man. He was an associate.
Yeah.
And he was probably one of the most deadly guys on the streets that you could imagine.
No shit.
He was scary, And another friend who's still alive and he's old, and I don't want to mention his name. I think he's losing his capacity, and I don't want to upset him. But he was a great guy, and them two always looked after me and stuff like that. And did some crimes with them and stuff like that. And we were supposed to do a score, go rob a drug dealer up New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Up in Canada, and one of the guys got caught by the Mounties on the way crossing the border with zappers and handcuffs and stuff like that. And they just turned him around and sent him home, and the whole score was called off. They knew his whole plan. Someone told on us before we even left for the ride. We were already ran it out.
Now, you're in your, let's go to fast forward a little bit even more. You're in your 18, 19, early 20s. You're done with school, all that kind of stuff. Did you have like a good, stable, full-time job, or or your job was you were a criminal at that point?
I never really had a steady job. I think I worked at Felicia's restaurant for like 4 days.
My mom's name.
And then I quit. I just didn't want to go in. There was 90 degrees out. I was hanging with all my friends at the playground, the guys and the girls. I wasn't leaving. Yeah. And I made my friend call in and tell them I quit. I didn't want to deal with it. And what else was I doing? I think 17 or 18, we pulled our first. I pulled my first score with another guy, a couple of guys that were, doing scores all the time. And I remember being, I think it was 18. We robbed an arcade, and we took the safe and the money machine. We got $12,000 for the night's work.
Jesus. So as you get older, and like you said earlier, like Cosa Nostra was more kind of like that white noise, That's
when I started noticing them, like 18.
Yeah, so when I started noticing them, was the aspiration to kind of hook up with them, or you didn't really care and it happened more naturally? I want to kind of get that progression as well.
I bounced around with a lot of crews, like I hung at the Stillman and the Fumara family ran the firework business back then, God rest JF Soul. He was the father, he did it for years, and he was a great guy. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, paid, you know what I mean? Great. I'd buy a new motorcycle at the end of the season with a bonus he gave me, and and they really took care of me. And one day JF looks at me and he goes, "I got my eye on you." He always had a little cigar in his mouth and the fedora on. He goes, "I got my eye on you." He goes, "I know these other guys are stealing. I don't know what you're doing yet, but I'm going to catch you." And I'm like, "Stealing? Wow, I never even thought of that." That I was still like, you know what I mean? I got no guile. We've talked personally, so you know the way I am.
No filter whatsoever.
I don't think of robbing someone like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, he's feeding me. I'm giving me money.
So now it's going to get good. Somebody says, "Wake me up when it's going to get good." It's going to get good.
There we go.
Nothing's off limits. So walk us through how you were framed for murder. Tell us what happened.
The best way to tell the story is from the beginning.
Okay, we're here.
Because a dear friend of mine's, his real name was Vincent Lamoli, but we called him Jimmy Lamoli.
Yeah.
And he was one of the most feared people to ever come out of the North End.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in the 108 Richmond. It was, I think it was run by Nagal at the time. And it was a real classy place with a piano. And they told him they had to shut his tab off. And he was shooting the chandeliers off the ceiling, shot the piano. Yeah, he was one of them, like if he saw you and he liked you, he'd put his arm around you and drag you in a bar with him. And
Jesus.
He really took a liking to me. But at that time, we were still all young and hanging around on Cooper Street, me, Billy Rod,
Yeah.
Even Patsy Baroni, a lot of people say bad things about him and everything like that, and, it is what it is. He did make statements against me and stuff like that, and I don't hold it against him. You know what I mean?
That's guy informed on you.
I try to remember that summer when I was with him, you know, and Billy and those guys, and the two guys that I got accused of murdering hung with us too. Actually, my first pinch was with them, and you know, Patsy was a different guy back then. He was Stone Cold Killer too. You know, I can't say he wasn't. I mean, he